This is a test of the City of Palatka audio system.
Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and call to order the December 1st, 2022 meeting of the Historic Preservation Board meeting. Mr. Sheffield, would you please lead us in the invocation?
Madam Chair, we do have the city chaplain online if you didn't notice.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Sheffield, next time. Sorry, apologies.
Pastor Mulberry, go ahead.
Yes, I am here. All right, thank you. Father, we thank you once again for this day. We give you praise, glory, and honor for your goodness towards us. We pray, dear God, for your divine directions, your guidance, and your help in these decision makings. We pray that your will be done, your kingdom come, your glory be revealed. Bless us with wisdom that's necessary to move this city forward for your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Mr.
You're-
Sheffield, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Thank you so much. Ms. Linda Little Craybill. Mr. Larry Beaton is an excused absence, Madam Chair. Christopher Hollister. Brianna Pierce. Present. Patty Vogt. Alan Sheffield. Paradell, serving for Beaton.
Present.
Madam Chair.
Present.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Moving to the appeal procedure. Notice, any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the Historic Preservation Board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based. FS 286.0105. Ladies and gentlemen, ex parte communication, please. Moving on to item 2 on the agenda, approval of the minutes of the November 3rd, 2022 Historical Preservation Board meeting. I trust you've all had a chance to look at these. Looking for a motion to approve. Thank you, Ms. Crable.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Pierce. And moving on to item 3 on our agenda.
I didn't hear a vote call.
I'm sorry. By the time I've been here a year and a half, I'll get this, I promise. All in favor, please say aye. And opposed. Thank you. The approval of the minutes of the November 3rd, 2022 meeting have passed as written. On our agenda, item number 3 is public comments. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please understand that no action will be taken on items. So we will open the meeting to public comments. Seeing none, we will close the public comment section of our meeting and move along to regular business. Item A is HPB case 22-30, request for a certificate of appropriateness to convert to a flat roof, remove and install windows, install doors and railings, construct 3rd floor addition, and construct 2nd floor partition. The address is 114 South Third Street, Palatka, Florida. The applicants are Tiffany and Mai Green. Do I need to do a parcel number? Nope. Okay, we will begin then with staff comments, I believe. Ms. Walsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you noted, this is an application to convert the existing gable roof to a flat roof, modify or remove existing second floor windows and install new windows and doors on the third floor, install previously approved railings on the second floor office roof and the perimeter of the one-story addition roof, construct a third floor bathroom addition, and construct a second floor privacy partition. The primary focus of this application is to propose a modification of a gable roof into a flat roof, which will allow for the installation of a third floor mezzanine or perhaps a complete third floor pending engineering. Without all, this will not alter the existing elevation of the building, and it will not modify the structure's footprint, and it'll have minimal impact to the architectural profile. In staff's opinion, it will enhance the architectural profile in that it will make the building adhere more to an Art Deco style, as some characteristics of it already indicate. The applicant has provided conceptual drawings to support the proposed changes as shown in the exhibits that are on the screen. So you see the building as it is now, that gable roof would go to a flat roof. Perhaps a third floor would go above that, pending engineering. Next slide, please. The windows that are being proposed are the same model, only just a different size of the windows that were previously approved earlier this year in February. So they would just be configured a little bit differently as far as size is concerned on different elevations of the building. Next slide, please. In your staff report, it gives you a breakdown of what windows would go where. And you can see that also in the elevations shown in the report, which was provided by the applicant. Then along those open areas, next slide, please. Along those open areas, next one, there would be railings installed as well. Next slide, please. There you go. There's an installation of the railings that would be installed along those mezzanines and porches. Those railings were also previously approved. And then the last slide shows that's okay, thank you. Shows the windows on the north side that would be a little bit different than in size and configuration than what they were previously approved. So the staff's recommendation is approval for all of the proposed items listed herein. And I'm happy to answer any questions or invite the applicant to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions at the moment for Ms. Walsh?
I just have a question. I put my speaker on. In reference to, when is the third floor? We're just approving the flat roof, so the third floor is, when is that going to be completed or done? Or is it?
There's no timeline indicated, but it would be, if there is a third floor, it would be pending engineering, whether or not the existing structure would support
Okay, so they don't know that.
going up another story.
Thank you.
Would the applicant care to address? Yes, please. And if you would, your name and address for the record, please.
Just to clarify, the intent is not to go above the existing height of building. It's sufficient for itself. With the change to the flat roof, there's sufficient room pending engineering to put it with no exterior change. So there's no intention to go up a level. That would be a fourth floor, and I'm not licensed for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else that you'd like to talk to us about at the moment? Just
I'm here to answer questions. I think the staff summary was concise.
okay. Do we have questions at the moment? Mr. Sheffield?
Just a clarification, making sure I understand the picture. When we look at the this spacing here, we can see in this drawing, the railings are not on the left there, but here, I imagine those are the railings on the left side at the top there. That would be,
Correct.
okay.
Right.
Well, I maybe I missed it in reading the materials, but to the rear of that, you see how there's an additional drawing.
That's a partition.
Okay.
So just to
That one I
clarify
didn't
what we're looking at
see.
here.
Okay,
This is an alleyway. So from the street, this really isn't in the line of sight of anybody walking on the street. But since it's exterior, I've included it. What that does is from the interior courtyard, where, let's say presumably a restaurant has outdoor patrons. If they look upward north, that would be Johnny's on the other side, right? Steamboat Willie's, which is John's place, which is landscape, and then there's an existing railing on the building, which you see the back facade of the quilt shop, and it's unsightly. So in part, because the view is somewhat distracting to the interior view, and also to reduce sound, that's that thing there, so.
okay. Because I think I missed that in reading this, that was, that's what that was there.
Yeah,
So a petition is being built.
yeah, it's consistent
On the
with
outside.
the existing privacy fences that are on the property there, so it's sort of an alternating horizontal wood black type of thing.
Okay, but it's up on the building. That's
It's on the
what
building.
got me.
Mhm.
Okay, Mr.
Yeah.
Green, I have a question.
Yes,
It shows here a chimney. Are you taking that chimney down?
no chimneys in the,
Well, what is the tall on the original?
if you
drawing?
elevate, roof is gable roof.
Right, but it has, according to this, it looks like there's a chimney or something on it.
It's there. So when you increase the size of the north and south walls,
Uh-huh,
so that they're at parallel with the current peak of the gable, the apex of the gable. The
uh-huh.
chimney is still there, it's not exposed,
Okay,
it's contained in the, I
Okay.
did not want to remove it.
okay. Well, I was wondering because.
Yeah.
it's-
No intention. I've never used them, but the chimney Swifts love them.
Right,
for-
right.
so let them use them.
Thank you,
Had
Mr.
you ever considered putting at least a facade gable front on the front to make it look similar to this? With the flat roof, actual flat roof?
So I haven't, and I'll explain. The architecture of this building is not, let's say, a known architectural style. It's a blend. So
Yeah.
in terms of maintaining that function, that gable roof was a matter of function back before they had air conditioning. And so it was there in order for the heat from a large roof to vent out.
Yeah.
But in terms of the architectural style of the surrounding similar buildings, they're all flat roof. So there's no point in retaining that look. One, it kind of makes the building look like a church, and it's not a church. It never was a church. And I think in terms of the consistency of architecture and the other features of the building, it would be better as a flat roof.
All right, thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Green. At this stage, let's go ahead and open up to public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
The building was built in 1940. They haven't adjusted age in 1970 because of all the modifications that have happened over the years. Accessibility, I mean, it doesn't have an existing stairwell into the attic, but the attic is wired with lighting. I personally haven't climbed up there, but when I had the building inspected, it's about, second floor has 16-foot high drop down ceiling, and then there the apex is another 11 to 12 feet. So in my opinion, there was an intent at some point, if they had the money, to go up another floor.
Yeah, and I was just noticing, with this fencing that you have, I mean, imagine that up at the top, and then,
The railing or the fence?
at the railing, I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then up at the top, to have like a little place for gathering.
So I can't speak for the engineering structural strength of that one story in terms of being a gathering place. That roof on that one-story addition done in the 70s was really just a roof, not a landing per se for a deck. But I'd like to investigate that. In the very least, I'd like to open access to it, which I've included in the drawing. So that's the main two-story building in lieu of the windows, which are certainly large enough to be doors. Change at least one door. I think I might have changed two in the drawing, so that we have direct access under that one story. And yeah, if, I don't know if you went by there on the 4th of July, but we've got the best view of the river. So yeah, it'd be nice to be able to go out there.
Thank you. Do we have other board questions for the applicant? Okay, moving back to opening up for public comments. Would anyone like to address this application? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and close public comments. And as we get into discussion amongst the board, I have some thoughts that perhaps we could begin with. Agreeing with staff and the applicant, this building is already a non-conforming building. Looking at the application, looking at the engineering and the drawings, my take is the height will not be raised of the building. It doesn't change the footprint of the building. And actually moving from a gabled roof into a flat roof does indeed mirror the architecture around it that is prevalent on St. John's Avenue. My personal feeling is architecturally, it will look better. And on the subject of jealousy windows, it makes my heart happy that the applicant is proposing to go back with double hung wooden windows. So to me, this is kind of a big win for the downtown area. Other members?
I'm in agreement with you. I think it'll look really good. And
I think the reason for the jealousy is because in the 40s and 50s, that was the predominant choice of windows because of storms. You could leave the windows open and it would prevent rain from coming in. I go back because my family moved here in 1946. And so I remember this building. My father was a member of the Elks Club and we went there for dinners and parties and all. So but I just want to say having the double hang suits things better for what you're proposing than the jealousy windows. Or Florida windows, as they call them. The jealousies were the thin ones.
Other comments from the board, or maybe we could entertain a motion?
I move we accept the staff's recommendation.
Thank you. We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Excellent. Come back to us about that rooftop deck.
Thank
Movie. All right, moving on to agenda item 4, regular business B. It is HPB case 2231, request for a certificate of appropriateness for a metal roof. The address is 315 Kirkland Street. The applicants are Thomas and Lucille Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa Welsh, Planning Director. As you noted, this is an application for a metal roof, replacing a shingle roof at this address on Kirkland. It's pretty common. It's a pretty common application request. It's in the South Historic District, so it has to come before the board. Staff's recommendation is of approval. The applicant has provided material colors and specifications to indicate the material of the quality or not quality, the style of the metal roof. There's some pictures of that's the material that's proposed. Staff recommends approval and try to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for Ms. Walsh, ladies and gentlemen? Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant present today?
No.
No. Okay. I would imagine at this point we could open up to public comment. Okay, let's go ahead and open up to public comment. We have one speaker card. And if you would please, your name and your address for the record.
Hello, Marcia Gano, address is 319 Kirkland, so it's the property next to the one that's in question. I can't hear from here. Is the mic on or is it? Is the light on? Is the light's on? So unfortunately, I'm here as a neighbor. I mean, most of you know I do work for the city, but I'm here as a neighbor. I do have some, if, you know, if Mr. Thomas was in the audience today, I wouldn't recognize him because I've never had the opportunity to meet him. Unfortunately, though, I did have a bad experience as a neighbor. And so if, Sonny, if you don't mind showing the presentation I sent you.
Is that allowed by Madam Chair?
Would that be all right with the board? Okay, please proceed.
You know, unfortunately, Mr. Thomas hired what turned out to be an unlicensed and uninsured tree cutter to trim the trees that were going over his roof. I went home for lunch and was shocked to find out the tree cutter had come in and cut down 2 trees on my property. Left it a big mess. You know, of course, he has a door hanger that says licensed and insured. I immediately, if you can just go to the pictures, I mean,
Give me just a second. I'm gonna share it for the city attorney.
so I immediately, you know, this happened on the 20th of September. I immediately wrote a certified letter. I sent it to Mr. Thomas. I sent it to KK Tree Cutting Service. You know, my intent was to go through the tree cutting. I called them. They said, oh yeah, we'll come in, we'll take out the stump. Sorry about it. It was a mistake. They absolutely had no intention of ever coming back or ever doing anything to rectify the damage to my property. I did get Mr. Thomas on the phone one time. He said, why are you calling me? And I said, sir, I'm just keeping you informed. As the property owner, you are responsible. I'm going to do my due diligence to go back to the tree cutting company, but you know, I'm just keeping you informed. He has since never responded to any of my correspondence or phone messages. So I've gone back through the help of some legal searches. Like I said, the company unfortunately is not licensed, uninsured, not licensed or insured in the state of Florida. I don't have any more recourse to go back through them. So I'm in a position as a neighbor that I'm going back to Mr. Thomas and going, look, this isn't my sole responsibility. I'm willing to work it out with you as a neighbor, but I do need some help here. So I understand this is not the board's problem. It's not the board's concern, but I would ask that you do not approve his, you know, replacement of the roof until there's due diligence and we make sure that it is a licensed and insured contractor that's going to do the work. And I know there's a permit. He didn't require a permit for tree cutting. Unfortunately, it was a egregious mistake. You know, if you could go back up one, I mean, the yard is just, they drove tractors all over it, or, you know, 1 to 2 foot ruts all the way through. It was a, you know, almost a 200 square foot area that's just torn up now on my property. I mean, it's just heartbreaking, shouldn't have happened, and certainly shouldn't have been gone this long without being rectified. So that's on me. I'm pursuing it, but I do ask that the board do not approve it the next project until there's proof that there's a licensed and insured contractor.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is my problem as a neighbor, but I appreciate the support.
Absolutely. And absolutely. I would obviously defer to our city attorney to ask if we could put an application on hold because of something of this nature. I would also say that to the best of my knowledge, Blue Sky Roofing is a licensed insured roofing company that has been in this area for some time, but that's just to the best of my knowledge. And as we all know, so could we hear from the city attorney as to where we should kind of be heading in what direction? Could we possibly hear from our city attorney with some advice on how to proceed?
What about the city manager since he's an attorney?
You'll have to forgive Miss Valeria. She's at a conference and probably connecting from her phone, so I can step out and call her real quick.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind,
Okay, thank
that
you.
would be great. And in the
And
meantime,
see, she just dropped off. I don't think her cell phone signal is all that good.
There it is again.
Miss Valeria?
We do
Let me
have,
step out just a second.
okay. And in the meantime, would it be okay to address another speaker card and allow Ms. Kitchens to comment? Yes?
Sure.
Come on up.
I'll fill out the card after the comments. Illegal Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Palatka, Florida. I don't think it would be a legal issue. I'm not an attorney, but I think if you table this requesting more information till the next meeting or to a time certain, you should be able to do it that way, and I think that would satisfy everybody. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
And if the homeowner's at county, she definitely needs more information. Personal comment.
Would it be appropriate, Ms. Walsh, to go ahead and skip forward and then come back and revisit this?
Yes,
Okay.
note it for the record, please.
Does the city have anybody that goes out and inspects jobs being done?
There are inspectors from the county that do that for work that's been completed.
Okay.
That requires a building permit. In Ms. Gano's case, the tree removal does not require a building permit because it's on residential property.
I'm speaking more to the roof.
And that company, Blue Sky Roofing, has applied for a permit and that application has ended up on my desk. And that's why we are here before you, because it's in the historic district and it's not a staff approval level
Right.
modification.
And with that application, they supply proof of insurance and.
Typically, yes.
Okay, if no one minds, let's go ahead and just leapfrog a tiny bit. To agenda item 4 under regular business, item C, HPB case 22-33, a request for a certificate of appropriateness to repaint the structure, add stairs and corbels to the front porch, add a door on the upper level of the front porch, widen the front walkway, and add a fence with gates. The address is 210 Dodge Street. The applicants are Casper and Elizabeth De La Torre. New owners, welcome. Ms. Walsh?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lisa Walsh, Plan Director. Sunny, if you could bring up the staff report. There's some photographs in there. They've done a really good job of drafting what exists and what's proposed. I think the first picture is the existing house and a proposal for the front porch. They'd like to add another stairwell at the end of the porch and widen the sidewalk in the front yard. Can you move it forward, please? Yeah. There you go. Thank you, ma'am. So it's kind of hard to see, but in that picture on the right-hand side of the front porch, there's a new stairwell there. And then, next slide, please. The applicant would like to paint their house that color. That's a staff level, staff approval, but it's included in the packet, so it's before you as well. But they'd like to change the color to that lovely blue. Next slide, please. And then in this picture on the right, that shows the location of a new doorway that they'd like to install. There apparently was one at one time, and then a window was installed there, and now they'd like to put the door back so they can utilize the second floor porch. Next slide, please. The next modification would be the addition of these columns in the front of the property, as well as some corbels. My apologies. Thank you, ma'am. So it's just the corbels to the existing columns. And next slide, please. This is showing the addition or the widening of the front walk. Next slide, please. And then the applicant is requesting a fence, a white vinyl scallop picket fence, 4 feet tall around the south and east perimeters with a gate at the walkway. Staff has received the product specification sheets and colors and materials for these modifications and recommends approval.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for Ms. Walsh?
Are the corbels vinyl as well, or are they wood? Okay.
Would the applicant like to address us? If so, if you would, your names and addresses for the record.
Elizabeth Delatorre, 210 Dodge Street, Palatka. Better half, Casper Delatorre.
Thank you. What would you like to tell us?
First of all, thank you. It's our first meeting, so we're excited to be here. We're new to the neighborhood. We're moving here from Palm Coast, Florida. And we've never been in a historic district before, so this is a new experience to us. So thank you for taking all of our requests into consideration. And we're here to answer any questions that you might have on any of these requests that we're putting in.
Thank you. Do we have questions for the applicants?
I have a problem with the vinyl fence because we have not approved vinyl fences. The wrought iron or wood fences are much more in line.
We brought a couple of wood options. If you want to see them.
Okay.
Two copies of each. So how should you, oh.
Yep.
So two different options that are also similar but wood.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for the applicants at the moment?
I do. No, that was my only question also.
Yeah, as well. Mr. Baradell.
The original age is listed as, I believe it's either 1884 or 86. But on the listing, they have it as 1915 because the house was moved from east facing to south facing and toward the west.
That's interesting. And that kind of explains the corbels, because I was wondering, you're picking a Victorian era decoration, and that seems more appropriate for Victorian, and that's why I want to know the age of the house. So thank you for that.
My neighbor had a vinyl fence and other neighbors had vinyl fences. And people have a tendency of coming along and breaking those tops off, so. It's something to reconsider.
Well, my complaint is that it's vinyl and it doesn't conform with the historic recommendations.
And that was actually one of my concerns as well, but it looks as though you're already leaning toward pressure treated, more like a wooden picket fence, which I think makes us happy. Yeah.
I have a white picket fence in front of my property. It is a lot of upkeep. It's a lot of work. But especially if you have sprinkler systems, that kind of rots the wood a lot, no matter what you do. But looks better. And I like the changes you're making. I like the wider walkway, and I do like the corbels. I like the color. And I like the fact that you moving in and you care and you want to make it look better. And you want the whole neighborhood to look better. And I thank you for that.
Thank you very much. If we don't have any further questions, did we have any responses from properties in the area? Either, no? Okay.
No.
Let's go ahead and at this point, open up to public comment. And seeing none, let's go ahead and close that down and talk amongst ourselves. I'll go ahead and start again. As I think we all do, vinyl fencing to me is a big no-no because it sets a precedent that we do not care for and comes back to bite us a lot. Picket fencing, I think is fantastic. Both of the examples you showed, I liked. Also, the consideration of a low metal aluminum type fence is also very nice in a historic district. Looking at the master site file, I love the fact that it appears that you're putting an original door back in that used to be there. That makes us happy, very happy. And with regards to the corbels, it's not a Queen Anne, it's a Greek revival, but then again, they can be removed. So to me, that is not really doing harm to the structure. Other board comments?
And I heard you say that they would be wood.
Mhm.
No, okay.
Make my
Okay.
comments on it.
In that case, I would be looking for a motion.
Do we accept?
I second.
I'm sorry, Mr. Sheffield. Question. Sure.
Are we, so there's a motion on the floor to accept as is, but
Well, what I was hoping for was a bit of a toss in that
That's-
not vinyl.
that's
Yeah.
what I want to move.
Yep.
Okay.
I
Do you wanna-
move that we accept this with the fact that we will have a wooden fence instead of the vinyl. Okay.
Second.
I'll second with you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, all right.
We have a motion and a second to agree with staff's recommendation to approve with the caveat that vinyl fencing is a no-go. However, a picket fence would also make us very, very happy, and you too, for many years. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Congratulations and welcome to the neighborhood.
Welcome to Palatka and Putnam County.
Absolutely. So ladies and gentlemen, let us move back to, well, to my paperwork being completely out of order at this point. Item B on our regular business, in which we were hoping that we could have a bit of help and recommendations on how we should move forward.
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but I see our city manager is in the room, so I was kind of looking to you for direction, Mr. Holmes. Well, we as a board we definitely feel for Ms. Gano, absolutely. Good neighbors are important things, but I sense that we're not sure if we can hold up an application.
I wasn't.
Okay. We have an application before us that to the best of my knowledge has arrived on our desk because it is completed and it's ready to go. And staff is asking for our recommendation. However, the property in question, Mr. Harvey's neighbor, is in fact, Miss Marcia Gano. And apparently, according to Miss Gano, tree removal was done on the property and it became a major issue. Her own trees were taken down. There was destruction, etc. And she asked if we could consider, I don't remember if the exact phrasing was deny the application until she could. Yeah, if you could fill Mr.
You know, I understand that my first wish is not the issue of this floor, but I did request that to not approve it until you're assured that it's a licensed insured contractor. He hired a non-licensed uninsured contractor to trim trees. The guy came in, took down 2 trees on my property, left a lot of debris and a big mess. Mr. Thomas has been fully unresponsive. So, I mean, that's my problem, but, you know, I'm a little, I've been through this historic board before, and, you know, I know that I got approval for a porch replacement on my property on 9th Street and did not turn in the name of my contractor during that approval process. So I'm learning, you know, from the other end, if that's required, and it's easy, I can go to my computer right now and determine whether, you know, Blue Sky Roofing is in fact, you know, licensed and insured, but I would be concerned if that isn't who shows up to do the work. So I was just asking the board to be assured that whoever the contractor was licensed and insured.
I don't think that that's within the purview of the board. And I think that's a code enforcement issue. If an unlicensed is unlicensed, I'm not even sure they have to be insured, although it should be. But if an unlicensed contractor were to perform work that requires a permit, especially, then I believe that's a code issue. But I think that your task is one of determining historical propriety, and I don't think that involves or includes weighing into the credentials of the contractor. So if that was the question.
I believe it is. I believe that when things again hit our desk, they have been vetted to the point that they need to be vetted in order for us to make a determination whether, you know, a shingle roof needs to stay on it or a metal roof is appropriate. We're more about colors. We're more about style standards. and historical
Yeah, I'm not
appropriateness.
Discounting Mr. No's concern.
Absolutely not.
As a neighbor, especially if she's already had a bad experience, it's just a matter of what the code gives you the authority and jurisdiction to deal with, and I think that's probably outside of it.
Understood. And thank you very much for coming to help us with that. That was kind of the direction that I was leaning. Okay, so we had gotten to the stage where we had public comments. We do not have the applicant before us to address us. Were other comments, called in from neighbors at surrounding properties?
There were not, Sunny's been looking up the licensing on that company right now. They are in some biz, but it's a different address.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
It is the same person, but he's used two different addresses on his Sunbiz registration and his license, which again is not our concern, but it's the same name of the same person with, on DPPR as well as Sunbiz.
Is there a way that we can, as the Palatka Historical Board, throw just a tiny, not necessarily red flag, but an orange flag out there to code enforcement to say, can you please keep an eye on this process? Has that ever been done? I know we'd love,
Possible. It's possible, but it's.
I know it has no teeth
Unless
to
there was a
it.
clear violation that they would be able to cite in our code, it's
Mhm.
probably not gonna happen. However, as Mr. Holmes mentioned, the county has a record of their licensing and insurance
Mhm.
when they submit for a building permit. Before it's issued, they will make sure that they have that copy.
Absolutely. Throwing it out to the board, are there objections to moving from a shingle roof to a metal roof on this structure? In my personal opinion, I feel like the particular metal roof that they're using looks a lot like shingles. I'm not certain how we can really hang an application.
We've had a couple of homes that we've allowed a metal, or did not allow a metal roof and told them to use shingles because that was the roof that's had always been on there, and the neighbors, no other houses. On this particular one, there are other homes that have been had metal roofs on them, so it's I'm not sure how much we're going against historic preservation rules and stuff. We've tried to prevent setting precedents that are not what we want to continue to have, but
Well, and by the same token, we've approved so many metal roofs. I mean, the argument is the longevity of the roof, it just, as compared, it's hard to turn down in my book.
I always prefer a metal roof to a shingle roof, but I can't really tell the color. I don't really know about an orange color.
It almost looks like it's a textured
I'm kind of confused about
but
the color. That's the only thing for me. I mean, I've seen them like a terracotta, red, greens, grays, but I don't recognize this color.
Yeah, it's true. Mr.
Yeah.
Sheffield.
Excuse me, at home, looking at it, it seemed to be a light beige of some sort. But yes, it's really hard to, I was struggling with that
Doesn't
too.
look like a standard.
No, it
doesn't.
doesn't. And I wondered with the color of the home and others, but even though people have their own personal, so my thing was really, metal or do we try to keep things standard? And those in the area, there's definitely a mixture, and there are definitely some metal roofs there.
I don't see this as a unreasonable thing to be asked of us. I feel like it's kind of the preference of the property owner. We have a mix that is leaning more and more toward metal roofs in our historic districts. All right, other comments from the board?
are they going to a colored metal roof? Or is it just gonna be a standard galvanized color?
That's like a colored.
Mhm.
metal
This
roof.
seemed
How many
colored.
other colored roofs, metal roofs do we have in that neighborhood?
There's a few.
Are there-
There's green.
Is
I don't think
there a
that's
color
historical.
chart for that is approved? Because in the historic district in Detroit that I'm a part of, they've actually issued specific colors that you have to choose from, and that's it. And so I didn't know if any such thing existed.
We don't have that in our code. We refer only to the Secretary of the Interior's standards.
Standards
Standards.
have color choices?
Not specific one.
No.
Just something that is compatible with the historic period.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah, because
construction.
at the time this house was built, I'm sure the silver or whatever was a standard roof. And so should we go beyond that with something decorative like that's being put on? I can understand putting on something that's the metal roofs that look like shingles that are gray that would, look like standard things, but
Well, in the past, I can remember a few times that we have requested to actually physically see what
Yeah.
it looks like. Can you bring something in with you and show us? Because frankly, the photograph isn't doing the justice we need. I remember specifically discussing an architectural type shingle, which was described as one color and it wasn't. That might be, Mr. Sheffield, a reason to table to ask for more information if you were so inclined to move in that direction.
I'd like to see a sample. Yeah, I would like to see a sample of it because it's very misleading on that photo.
Even when I was trying to really try to look at it at home, I couldn't tell. And that doesn't even look like an actual metal roofing sample to me. I don't know. So I would like to see.
If you could-
I move that we table this and ask that a sample, whether it's by the applicant or by staff, be brought before us for our consideration.
May I ask for clarification on the motion, Madam Chair?
Of course.
Is it being tabled to a time and date certain or tabled until the applicant can bring back? And leaving it on the applicant, or are we giving him a date?
I would suggest that by the January meeting would be ideal, but if he needed more time, we would understand that. Would that be acceptable
That
to
would be
you?
acceptable.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to table this request to the January meeting well, not in the hopes of, in expectation of either the applicant, his agent, or the roofer, or the city being able to furnish us with something we can visually look at. Do I have, no, we did that. All in favor, say aye. And opposed. Okay, the ayes have it, and this particular piece of business will be tabled to the January meeting or possibly a little further off depending. Okay, moving on, we are at staff comments.
I am pleased to let you know that the grant for the Historic Preservation Cultural Resource Survey update has been awarded. I think you already knew that, but it's got to go before the commission for execution. And I've had to wait all this time on the state to get the actual agreement to us. Once we execute it, I will get the RFP out to get a contractor for the update. And that is to go before the commission next Thursday night. So if all goes well, I'll have it on the street by Friday. Next Friday.
That is awesome. Awesome news. Thank you so much. Other staff comments?
No, I'm good.
Moving on to board comments. We would like to have a workshop, as you all know. And it seems as though scheduling a separate date to have a workshop has not been the easiest thing. Wondering how the board feels about having the workshop at the January historical board meeting, so we don't have to do an extra date.
Would that be after the meeting? Or
It would be
during?
at the end of the meeting, I would imagine.
Whatever your pleasure is.
Definitely, I would, I would like after the holidays.
Okay, so the January meeting, would that work for everyone?
How does that affect the building being open after, for the extension of?
We're all here. We're all here.
Everybody wants to get out and lock up.
As long as you don't keep us here till like, dark 30. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well,
Commission meetings, we're used to it.
Exactly.
and it would be the first Thursday in January, so the holidays would kind of be a thing of the recent past.
So if we only had this one roofing thing, then it would be short and then maybe it wouldn't. Okay.
Right.
Because you'll be retired.
Dancing. Did you see she's dancing in her chair?
All right, do we have anything else to?
Madam Chair, will we be presenting, Madam Crable, Madam Vice Chair, a plaque or something, form of recognition at the next meeting?
Oh, don't we think so?
Yes.
Thank you.
I have my crackle bar.
You retired.
I think that would be amazing. How many years?
I think it was 2005.
I believe so, 2005 or 2008. If you give me 2 seconds, I can tell you, literally.
That's when I joined the mural committee and the historic preservation board.
It was June 23rd, 2005.
Wow. I think that's an awesome idea and I hope everyone agrees. Fantastic. Okay, looking front and right and left, anything else to come before the board or should we adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
All right.
Oh,
We're adjourned.
Yeah, I apologize, sir, but we have a public comment portion of the meeting at the beginning of the meeting, and we would love to hear from you. You are welcome at our next meeting in January, but before that, city staff is at your disposal for any questions you might have. You would need to speak to Ms. Walsh about that, and she is going to be very happy to help you probably momentarily.